Now, when a person wants to move out of the state of New Jersey with their child, I would say this is the one situation where people oftentimes don't hire me soon enough. Because in New Jersey, if a parent wants to leave the state with their child, not just leave, but if they want to move out of the state with their child, if they don't have the consent of the other parent, they have to get the consent of the court. We call those relocation matters. Now, at the outset, you may say, well, why can't I decide to move? I'm getting married, my new spouse lives in a different state, or they're in the military, or I have a brand new job and I'm going to make tons more money and I'll be able to really support my child and give them a better life. That's all well and good, trust me. And the court doesn't necessarily want to stop the parent from moving. It's just the issue of moving that child away from the other parent. Now, remember, both parents have a constitutional right to the custody of their children, to be able to raise and participate in the lives of their children. So these types of cases are actually pretty complicated. Typically, what will happen is the court will try to see if the parties can reach some kind of an agreement. I would say about 80% of the time, that's very difficult, especially if a parent wants to move to a state, like say they're in New Jersey now and they want to move to Florida. Well, there's really no middle ground. Pennsylvania, Delaware, that's a little different because you can be geographically closer than living, in South Jersey compared to North Jersey, but it's still something you need to have the other parent's permission for. Now, if this matter happens to you, and you need to move, then you need to consult with an attorney right away. And I would suggest you click the link below as soon as possible to set up a consultation with me so we can really figure out a strategy to make this work. Because in most of these cases, they end up in going to trial. And they're not easy cases for judges to decide. I mean, just think about it. If you have two loving parents who really dote on their child, they are part of their child's life, they see them on almost a daily basis, even though they may not be together, they're sharing custody, and then one of them says, look, I got this great business or career opportunity in Florida and I want to take our child there. Well, that relationship that the parent who remains in New Jersey has is going to look very different with that child. They may not be able to see them, at least be able to tuck them in at night on a daily basis, even weekly basis. So now their parenting time looks more like it's about the quality of the parenting time versus the quantity of parenting time. So they may go from seeing their child on a weekly or daily basis to now seeing them maybe during the holidays or when they have a break, or maybe the parents will split the summer. That's a different way of parenting. That's a different way of being present in your child's life. And that not only affects the parents, but it affects the child. So these are things that we really have to consider when deciding to make decisions like this. And the court looks at several things. It looks at, for one, how far away the parties will be from each other. So what does that child's commute look like in order to be able to see that other parent? Do they have to actually get on a plane to see the other parent? Or can they drive 2 hours? Or are they right over the bridge in Philadelphia? The court also looks at the parties' ability to communicate. I can't stress enough the importance of the parents being able to communicate to still be able to make decisions about their child. And if the court sees that one party is always reaching out and letting the other parent know about, okay, this is when Sally's doctor's appointment is, this is when her soccer match is, and the other parent is just refusing to communicate, that's going to affect the court's decision. Because if they see that that party that's not keen on communicating with the other parent, if they're not doing that now while both parties are in New Jersey, what's that going to look like when the other parent is allowed to move with the child? Or if the court actually allows the child to stay in New Jersey with that parent, is that parent going to be willing to communicate with the other parent and let them know what's going on with their child, let them know about doctor's appointments and soccer games? The court has to contemplate all of this. And again, it makes this decision so difficult for judges. That's why a lot of these cases usually end up in trials, with each party really trying to prove why it's in the best interest of their child for them to be able to make that move. Now, let's just pause. Let's put a pin in that for a minute, because to be able to prove that it's in your child's best interest to make a move is it's a tall task. It takes a lot of research. it takes a lot of evidence and it takes a lot of proof. Now, considering that and the factors that the court considers, it's really, I would say it's a really heavy burden for some parents to be able to prove that. I would always start by trying to figure out what's going to work best for these families. We've really got to try to approach this from different angles and figure out what may be best. And sometimes that requires being pretty creative about how often the child sees the parents. Let's really take a deep dive and look at that child's schedule, look at the parent's work schedule, look at the one parent's ability to come to the other state. I mean, these are all things we look at. But the most important thing that the court's going to take a look at is a case law called Bisbing versus Bisbing, and it outlines all of the factors that the court considers in deciding whether to allow a parent to relocate. Now, this may sound like a lot, and to be honest, it really is, but that's why you need to hire experienced counsel whenever you're faced with a situation like this. So the moment you feel that it's time for you to make that move, or it's something that you're contemplating, click below now and make sure you reach out to us to be able to schedule a consultation so we can talk about what your options are, look at the different strategies that may be available to you, and really understand what you need to begin doing right now to be able to move later.